No mai haere mai. It's the Huddy Hui. Find Huddy Sports on Instagram and Facebook. huddysports.co.nz. Now let's kōrero.
Kia ora, good evening and welcome to the Huddy Hui, episode 136. We're 2 weeks away from club rugby and we're also getting to the end of the cricket season. In particular, the Black Caps are playing tonight in a bit of a dead rubber at Sky Stadium against Pakistan in a T20 match. But someone who knows all about T20 cricket and playing at the first class level is our guest on the Huddy Hui tonight. He's a former student of St Pat's Town, where I used to teach back in the day. Played for the Wellington Firebirds and now for the mighty Volts down in Dunedin. Luke Georgeson is our guest on the Huddy Hui. Luke, many thanks for coming on the Hui tonight. Otago Big Bash, oh, it's not Big Bash, sorry, wrong one. Super Smash season got off to a great start. However, fell away towards the end. How would you describe the Volts season?
G'day, Brad. Thanks for having me on. I was umming and ahhing about whether to call you Brad or Sir, but I've gone with Brad and we'll stick with that one.
10 years ago now.
It nearly is, actually. But no, thank you very much for having me on. In terms of our Super Smash season, I think you're bang on the money. We started off with a hiss and a roar, and then sort of petered away towards the end. I think we lost our last 4 games. It was towards the end to just miss out on an elimination final, which was incredibly frustrating because throughout the competition we played some really good cricket. We beat the eventual champion CD, and we played some good cricket. We just weren't able to string it together for long enough, unfortunately. So yeah, it was frustrating.
It's only your second season down there with the Otago Volts, and before the T20 season, you were sprung upon with the captaincy. Tell us about being captain for the Volts in the Super Smash, and how did you find out that you had become captain, and were you surprised?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. We have a new coach this year called Ashley Nofke, so he's come across from Australia. I met up with him. He coaches the London Spirit women's side in England. And I met up with him a couple of times over there, and he sort of floated the idea and came back, and then sort of put it on the table. It was definitely a surprise, but obviously a huge honour to get asked to do it. We've got a really good group of young guys, and it was pretty cool to be asked to do it. So yeah, it's been good fun. I think I've done quite a bit of captaincy sort of leading up to this in school cricket, club cricket, and A cricket, but it's obviously a slightly different kettle of fish when you get to the first class level. But I certainly enjoyed the tactical side of things. You get thrown in the deep end when you do it. So, it was a bit of a baptism of fire, and I learned a lot quite quickly, but I've really enjoyed doing it. It's just been frustrating to not be on the park towards the back end of the season with the hamstring, so I've missed out a bit, but all in all, it's been good fun.
And how did you do your hamstring?
I actually did it in a 4-day game against Canterbury in December, and then sort of got it right for the Super Smash, and then redid it again after the end of that. So, but just running. It was, pretty innocuous. I was chasing after a ball. It's actually quite funny. I was chasing after a ball and I kept it in, and they ended up running 4. So I don't even save a run. And then redid it in the nets after the Super Smash just before we started up again with the Ford Trophy. So, frustrating, but that's part of the game. So.
And how different, having the captaincy, how much did that change your game, having that sense of leadership over you?
I definitely think I've always enjoyed doing it, and it helps. I think you sort of, it definitely emphasises your prep leading up to the game, because once you get to the game and you're playing on match day, sort of your cricket is the least of your worries. You've got so many other things to worry about in terms of who's going to bowl when and what you're going to do and over rates and all that sort of stuff. So it's actually, I feel like I've actually had to think less about my own game. And then obviously just the stuff around like dealing with the players. Sorry, there's a Frankie, get down. The dog.
Oh yes, so, well known for dogs hijacking the show, Luke. It hasn't happened before.
Sorry about that. But what was I saying? Sorry. Yeah, it's been great for my game, just in the sense that you've got to be really diligent with your prep leading into it and making sure that you've got your ship in order, because obviously you can get a bit chaotic on game day. So, and you need to make sure that you're there to make the right decisions for the team. So, yeah.
Of course, The Super Smash season started in Central Otago and Alexandra. How was it playing out at Molyneux Park out there in what is a beautiful part of the world in the middle of summer?
Yeah, it's awesome. So we're really lucky at Otago. We've got 4 home grounds. So we play at Molyneux Park in Alexandra, Queenstown, Queen's Park in Invercargill, and Uni Oval in Dunedin. But they always tend to put us up Central Way for the Super Smash over the Christmas period, so where we get the best crowds. So yeah, it's an awesome part of the world to be in, a great place to play cricket. So we're very, very lucky.
Down in Otago these days, how different is the cricket down in Otago compared to Wellington?
In terms of the club cricket or the
club cricket in general, club and domestic, yeah.
Yeah, so the club cricket's a slightly smaller competition. So we've just got 6 club teams. I play for the mighty Albion Eagles. But yeah, so they just run they run a 3 format comp, the same as Wellington, 2-day, 1-day, and T20. It's just a slightly smaller scale because there's only 6 teams. And then in terms of the domestic cricket, I suppose the main difference, like I mentioned before, is that we've got 4 home grounds. So when I was with Wellington, we're obviously based at the Basin for all of our games, for our home games, sorry. Whereas here, our base is in Dunedin, but we play across the 4 grounds across the region. So we're sort of out and about a little bit more for what we call home games. We're actually away. So that's just different. And it's great to get out to the regions and sort of put some stuff on for the fans out there. So, yeah, we're very, very lucky.
I've noticed over the summer there's been a bit of a campaign, and I've seen it on a few social media pages, about wanting to change the name of the Otago votes to the Southern votes, because I think your friends down in Invercargill don't think Otago represents them. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, jeepers. I've probably got to be impartial. No, Jacob Duffy's a very good friend of mine, and he's obviously from Southland, and he does make a great point that our region covers Otago and Southland. So, yeah, I guess by definition, he's probably on the money there. So, there's obviously the historic stuff around Otago cricket and the first class stuff, and I'm sure there'd be a bit of cost involved having to actually change it. But yeah, I'm for it. So,
no one is an all-rounder in your cricketing career. Is batting or bowling your main? Which one is your main strength, batting or bowling?
It's a good question. I started my first class career as an opening batter at Wellington, and sort of didn't bowl much. And then sort of towards the end of my time with Wellington, started bowling a little bit more, and then have come down to Otago and am playing that genuine all-rounder role. So I'd say I'm a batting all-rounder probably, but I've definitely done more bowling since I've been down here, and I'm absolutely loving it. So, but I'd say a batting all-rounder.
In terms of bowling, what are you, a medium pace or a spinner? Tell us what type of bowling style you have, and do you model it off anyone?
Yeah, I'm just a seam bowler. So I've actually ended up taking the new ball quite a bit down here. Obviously, Duff's been away with the Black Caps a lot this season, so we've needed to fill that space. So I've been doing a bit of work with the new ball, which has been great fun. In terms of modelling myself on a bowler, not overly. I just think you're wanting to, as an all-rounder, you're wanting to be able to offer like versatile overs. Obviously, I've been opening the bowling a bit, but if I need to bowl first change or in white ball cricket potentially at the death, you just want to be as versatile as possible, because you can sort of bat in that 6 or 7 role and be the 3rd or 4th seamer, and you can help balance out your side quite well. So that would probably be where I'd put my bowling. But I've done a lot more of it in the last couple of years, and I'm really enjoying it. So,
what's the fastest you've ever bowled in kilometres?
I've never been clocked. I've never clocked. I'm certainly not quick by any stretch, but I like to think I hit the bat harder than people expect. So.
Now, we mentioned before you played for Wellington. What was behind the move from Wellington down to Otago?
So I got released by Wellington, so I was with them for 2 full seasons, and I did my rookie contract stuff there, and then got released, and then the opportunity to come down to Otago, and it was Dion Ibrahim was the coach at the time. He got in touch and was really keen to get me on board, which was awesome. So sort of came down with a bit of a fresh start in a slightly different role. So, yeah.
When was you talking about going back to the days of the Firebirds? When was your debut season for the Firebirds? And tell us about playing in that environment. When does the season technically start for representative cricket?
So I would have my first contract would have been 2021, I think it was. But I was on what they called a rookie contract prior to that for a couple of years whilst I was at university. So I was in and around the squad. So when I did get my first full contract, it was a seamless transition. And because I knew the support staff, I knew the players and stuff like that. I was incredibly lucky with the group that I came into. We had some really experienced players, guys like Michael Bracewell, Logan Van Beek, Tom Blundell, Hamish Bennett, Devon Conway. I could name them all, but they were a great group of guys to come in and learn from. And they welcomed me with open arms. And like I say, I was very lucky to play for as long as I did up there. But obviously the opportunity to move down south came. So but it was look back very fondly on my time with the Firebirds.
Not many cricketers get to play on the Basin Reserve. What is it like playing at the home of New Zealand cricket?
It's awesome. It's definitely one of the best grounds in the country. I was lucky enough growing up to work in the scoreboard and sort of do lots of odd jobs around the ground with Ryan Holland, who runs it down there. I only lived in Huddy, which was about a 10-minute walk. So definitely holds a special place in my heart. It's a bit weird going back and sitting in the away changing room, but like you said, it's the home of cricket in New Zealand, and it's such a great ground. And when they fill it up for the T20s, the atmosphere is great. So yeah, it's a great place to play.
Of course, Wellington's known for its windy conditions. Is the wind the most challenging factor when you play at the Basin Reserve?
Yep, that's definitely part of it. Like, depends what wind's blowing, but there can be a bloody cold southerly coming up Adelaide Road there. But it probably has a lot more bounce than a lot of the grounds across the country, which people probably don't realise. So, like from a bowling point of view, the length you've got to bowl is actually a little bit fuller than where it would be at a different ground around the country. So a lot of teams, well, we used to talk about it at the Firebirds, but making sure we were bringing guys forward and stuff like that to account, and bowling a little bit fuller to account for the extra bounce. And obviously there can also be a bit of grass on the wicket as well. So from a batting point of view, especially pre-Christmas, it can be quite seamer friendly. So the scores tend to be a little bit lower, and you've sort of got to go about your business a little bit differently. But some days 200, 220 can be a competitive score if there's plenty of grass on the wicket. So.
And there's been quite a noticeable trend in cricket over the last, I'll probably say the last decade in New Zealand. The pitches have been quite green, particularly first class and test matches as well. Are you a fan of the pitches being quite green on the first few days, particularly day one of a match?
Yeah, it's an interesting point because the way I see it in red ball cricket, you either want it to be sort of green and sporting for the seamers to start with and flatten out towards the end of the match, or to be pretty good to bat on to start with and then start spinning towards the end of the game. So obviously in New Zealand, it's a lot easier to prepare greener wickets just given the conditions and stuff like that. But I think it's part of it. Like if the wickets were too flat, they'd just be an absolute run fest. So it's a fine balance, but I definitely think there needs to be stuff in it for the bowlers. Otherwise, like I say, it can be a run fest. There's definitely been a push to try and get the wickets spinning towards the back end of the year across New Zealand cricket. But that's probably proving harder than what people thought, I think, just because the wickets are so good. So, and the idea around that is just to prepare guys for the subcontinent when they do go over there. So, but I mean, you look at the base in the last 2 years or 2 or 3 years in the test they've had, spins played such a vital role. Yeah. I remember the Australian tour, I think, did Nathan Lyon get a fifer and Bracewell might have got Bracewell and Phillips might have got a few wickets in the following series. So like it's played a far more prevalent role than it had previously. So
now, of course, there are three main forms of domestic cricket these days: the normal first class one, 4 days, or a test match, 1 day cricket, or T20. Which is your preferred format and why?
I think first class cricket's the best format, and purely just because it's so hard. I think with the great stuff about T20 cricket is it's fast paced and we get good crowds in it. It's great for we're growing the game in New Zealand, but I still think that first class cricket's the purest form, and it's so hard to actually win a first class game of cricket it's very difficult. I haven't won many, so I guess sitting down after 4 days and winning a game of 4-day cricket is a pretty good feeling. So, and you certainly can't win by accident. So I'd say first class cricket for me.
Many would say first-class cricket in particular is a bit like a test match. It's a bit like chess, really. You've got it's the bowler, the batsman. It's all about the art of trying to figure out what the next delivery is going to be, and also field placements. Is that sort of an analogy you think of? Is it's a bit like chess?
Yeah, for sure. like I said before, you can't win one by accident. So I think one of the main things that I've learned over the last couple of years is just about trying to control the game and control the ebbs and flows. Like obviously we said before, if the wicket's green, it's going to be in the favour of the bowlers. So success as a batting unit on the morning of day one might look very, very different to what success would look like on the afternoon session of day three. So I think the most important part about it, like I said, is just controlling those momentum shifts and finding ways to stay in the game. You could find if you could have 2 great days and then you could have a terrible session on the morning of day 3, for example, and the game completely shifts. So you've got to be on the money pretty much for the whole 4 days, which is probably why it's so rewarding when you do come away with a win.
As well as Wellington and the Volts, you played a season for the Northern Knights as they were back then before they changed to become the Brave. How did that move come about for that season?
So that one there, it's a confusing one, but that was actually the Northern Knights, which is based in Belfast in Northern Ireland.
Oh, gee, I got the wrong one.
So that's, you're not the first person.
No, not the first person to get that one.
So I went over, and I'll get the dates wrong, but I think it must have been the winter of 2021, just after COVID, to play club cricket for a club called Civil Service in Belfast there, and was lucky enough to play what they call interprovincial cricket over there for the Northern Knights. So they've got 4 semi-professional teams over there that play in an interprovincial comp across the island. So yeah, that was not the Hamilton-based Northern Knights, but the Belfast-based Northern Knights.
Make sure we get the right one next time. Anyway, well, speaking about Belfast in particular, 2022 was an interesting year for you. One stage there, you switched your allegiance to Ireland. You were offered a contract over there. And then about a month later, you said, oh, no, I'm happy here in New Zealand. Tell us about what happened there.
Yeah, so obviously following on from that summer that I did there, I came back and did a contract with Wellington. And then towards the end of that, I got the opportunity to sign on with Cricket Ireland to play, or to be centrally contracted by Cricket Ireland, which I accepted and signed and went over with the best intention of fulfilling. But as I think I was 21 at the time, and as I got back into it, I probably underestimated the magnitude of the decision. And to cut a really long story short, just wasn't ready, probably for international cricket to move across to do all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm certainly not proud of the way it panned out. And Cricket Ireland throughout the whole thing were fantastic with the way they handled it. They really put me first and looked after me really, really well. But it was, it wasn't meant to be at that time. So like I said, I'm certainly not proud of the way it panned out, but the right decision was made. And then I came back to New Zealand. So.
And of course, speaking about New Zealand, you have represented your country, particularly in 2018 when you were named with the New Zealand Under-19 World Cup squad, which was held in New Zealand. How was that experience for you, that you managed to play a few games in the tournament? And there were some big names that were played in that tournament. They've gone on to higher honours as well. Tell us about the World Cup, Under-19 World Cup.
Yeah, so yeah, they picked those squads at the conclusion of the national tournaments, and I was lucky that my age fell on the right World Cup year, so got picked to do that. Like you said, it was a home World Cup, so we ended up coming 8th. We lost the quarterfinal to Afghanistan, and then sort of petered off from there. But I think I played a couple of the pool games. Memorably, we played Kenya when Jacob Buller got 180. Got to play a game at Queenstown against England, but like you said, the tournament was littered with what's turned out to be some fantastic players. You look at the New Zealand team, obviously Rachin, Ravindra and Finn Allen have gone on to do all right for themselves, and I think the Indian team won it, and they had a host of high quality players, but Shubman Gill was probably their best player. I think he opens the batting for the national team, so he's done all right too. But I look back on that, and it was just the first experience my first experience of what being a professional cricketer would be like. So prior to that, I'd played rugby in the winters and then just done cricket in the summer. But that was the first real taste of what being a professional cricketer would be like. And it was, after that, I was damn sure I was going to make it happen. So it was an awesome experience.
What's been your best moment in your professional cricketing career to date?
The best moment in my professional cricketing career to date? Good question. I managed to get a couple of fifers last year against Wellington, which I enjoyed. But they were good fun. Probably, I haven't won anything yet, which is that will be my best moment when the Volts win a title in the hopefully not too distant future. But I think on a personal note, probably my maiden first class 100. We were backs against the wall against Canterbury, and I can't remember what the into the well behind the game, and managed to put on a big partnership with Max Chu, first class 100, which was pretty special. We ended up losing the game, which was devastating, but we batted for the best part of a day and a bit. So yeah, from a personal note, that point of view. But I say when I get to lift a trophy with the Volts, that'll be the best moment.
Certainly will be. They won T20s for a number of years. I think they have a long record for the one-day comp. Is that correct? I think probably the late 80s or something. I read in the Otago Daily Times. It's been a long time since then.
Yeah, so it's about time we pulled our weight and won one. So watch this space.
Now, of course, back here in the capital city, your local cricket club was East. Tell us about East's.
Yeah, so Eastern Suburbs, based down at Kilburnie Park, just the road from school there. I played all my junior cricket there. Obviously played school cricket with St Pat's and then went back to East's to play for there. I actually started off, I did a year in the twos and then went up to the Prems, which was captained by Lance Dry. I'm sure you've heard the name, but
Yes.
They had a really successful period across probably 20 years. So I caught the back end of that, where they had a whole host of great club cricketers and some ex-professionals that really enjoyed playing together and did some amazing stuff. So to get in and around them, it's fantastic. Like learning about winning and how they went about it. I didn't go straight into the Premier team. I thought was just the worst thing in the world, but I sort of started off in the twos and then earned my way into the ones, and then managed to peel off a couple of Pearce Cups, which was cool. I look back very fondly on those stuff, but yeah. Certainly loved playing at East, so yeah, it was my childhood club. So
Mentioned throughout the interview, you're a product of St Pat's Town. You tell us about your time there as a student, because you've quite a good cricket team during that time as well, wasn't there? That came through together.
Yeah, so I was class of 2016. So like you say, it's nearly 10 years since I left, but it certainly doesn't feel like that. But yeah, we were super lucky when we were there. I think I played 3 years in the first 11. Had some great coaches. Clinton Johns obviously took it to start with, and then finished off with a Darren Thompson. But we had a great crew of guys that played together for a while. And yeah, we never won anything. Unfortunately, we sort of lost to Hibs every year, who had Troy and Rutch and Stairs and Tashkoff and all those boys. So they had a really, really good side. We beat them a few times, but couldn't put them at the post, unfortunately. But yeah, I was there when we got the new nets, so we got a fantastic facility to train on throughout the week and stuff like that. So and we played lots of traditionals. So we play against St Bede's, Silverstream, Francis Douglas, and some 3-day stuff. So that was great to get exposure to that sort of cricket at that young age. So.
Which of those traditionals did you enjoy the most? St Bede, Silverstream, or Francis Douglas?
Well, St Bede's was fun because you got to fly down to Christchurch. I don't see off the top of my head, but I think the Silverstream one probably. We see a lot of them, obviously, being in the same competition as us and get to play them in white ball cricket quite a lot. But yeah, to get to play it was probably the best, and I always enjoyed playing it out there as well. So they had a great ground out there. So.
And what's been your best cricketing moment while your time at St Pat's Town?
At St Pat's Town, gosh, you're really testing me here. The best cricketing moment at St Pat's Town. I can't think. I never scored 100 for the school.
Oh well.
So that's something that I'll take to my grave. Don't tell anyone that. Well, I'll probably just said it on a live stream. But
you did, yes.
That would have been a good moment. It would have been a good moment, but we never unfortunately won a competition. We used to do. Oh, you're really testing me here. I actually don't know. Come back to me on that one.
We'll come back to you later on that one. Now, of course, also, you're a pretty handy rugby player as well during your time at St Pat's. You played halfback as well. Tell us about how you adjusted from being a cricketer and then in the winter to being a halfback.
Yeah. So like I said before, like growing up, it was always rugby in the winter and cricket in the summer. So it was like there was never heaps of crossover between the two, which was cool. But yeah, absolutely loved my rugby. I probably thought I was going to be an All Black for longer than I'm proud to admit. But yeah, I was lucky enough to play 2 years in the first 15. Zach Donaldson broke his leg in 2000 at the start of the 2015 season. So I got roped in for that and sort of played from there to the end. We managed to win the competition in 2015. We beat Scots out at Porirua Park, which was a pretty special moment. And then we came second at Wellington College. I might have missed a couple of kicks at some critical points, but we don't need to talk about that. But
No, we don't. No, but let's talk about that 2015 game. It was 20 years since Town last won a Wellington final, and of course, ironically, the two coaches for that final, Glenn Donaldson and John Bishop, former staff member of St Pat's Town, they were the last coaches to win a title 20 years beforehand in 1995, and the same again in 2015. Tell us about those two, because you only not only got in the final, but you played what was quite an interesting semi-final against Silverstream.
yeah, Glenn and Mr. Bishop were fantastic. Like it was, I obviously came into the team quite quickly when Zach broke his leg, so it hadn't had anything to do with the pre-season prior to that. But yeah, it was they were so passionate, and like you said, they won the title in 1996. So they were pretty keen to get it done again. But they were great. Like obviously, it's schoolboy rugby, but it was about as professional as you can be without being a professional. We were training sort of 3 times a week, and we were S&Cing and recovering and doing all that sort of stuff. But yeah, they were fantastic, and we had a great side. And like you said, we had a really good semi final against Silverstream where we just beat them, and then we managed to pip Scots in the final. So.
How many games did you play for the first 15? And also in that first 15, there are a number of players that have gone on to play representative rugby as well and become All Blacks.
Yeah, pass on the number of games. I played 2 seasons, so I'm not sure how many games. I was lucky enough to not get injured, so I'm not sure how many games that'd be. Maybe 40, 20 a year, potentially. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, we were super lucky to have, obviously, Billy Proctor and Xavier Numere to play in our first 15. Obviously, both of them play for the Hurricanes and debut for the All Blacks. It's pretty surreal to think that you used to run around and play with him. It's funny, every time I bump into them now, I sort of go, there's no way I could compete with you boys now. They're both fit as fiddles and strong. But yeah, we were super blessed to have them in our team.
What do you do outside of cricket when it's not the summer season here in New Zealand? Do you go overseas and play?
Yeah, so I've done a couple of seasons overseas. So obviously did 2 in Belfast and Northern Ireland, and then last winter I played for a club called Whittam, which is in Essex, just northeast of London. So I did a season there as well, and then a couple of the other off seasons I've worked. So I worked up in Auckland 2 years ago, and I'll be in Dunedin this winter just to try and bit of a refresh on the body and find some work. So if anyone's got work out there, you know where I'll be. So.
I'm sure there'll be something out there, but look after you have to get that hamstring right. I know there's only a few weeks left of cricket in the year, but was your hamstring well enough to play the last few rounds of the Plunket Shield?
Yeah, so fingers crossed. I've got a couple more tests to get through, but fingers crossed I can get it right for the last round. So,
who's been your biggest influence on your cricketing career and why?
Great question. I've been super lucky to have some really, really good coaches. I think back to sort of my under-19 days. Well, Clinton Johns at school was probably the first person that really challenged me as a cricketer. I had quite I won't say dour way I approached the game when I was a bit younger, but he certainly challenged the way I played the game and really pushed me to explore and expand and learn and make mistakes and get better. So he was fantastic. And then coming through sort of the age groups at Wellington, a guy called Sri Krishnamurthy. He was around the age group stuff there. He was fantastic. And then yeah, obviously getting to know Lance Dry at Eastern Suburbs when I was sort of 16 was, you learn a lot about the game quite quickly with Lance. He's very, direct, but he was also the first person to put your arm around you if you needed a hand with something. So they were all awesome. So they were probably the guys that got me in my formative years. And obviously since turning professional, I've had a spate of great coaches as well. So.
And who's the toughest cricketer that you've had to play against?
The toughest cricketer I've had to play against? Will Young. His bat looks very wide when you bowl to him. He's obviously had some awesome success in the last 2 years, but he's dominated domestic cricket for a long time, and I've always struggled to bowl to him. He seems to hit me for a lot of runs, and I never get him out. But yeah, he'd be there. And then from a bowling point of view, I think probably another seedy guy when I started off, Seth Rance was awesome. I sort of ran into him a few times, and then a guy like Matt Henry, again, no surprise, he's dominating on the world stage from what I've seen in domestic cricket from him. He has set the standard for seam bowling in New Zealand for the last few years. I ran into him more than I would have liked in the start of my career.
What's your ambitions for the rest of your professional cricketing career? What do you still want to achieve?
I'd love to win a title with the Volts. I'd love to win all 3 titles with the Volts. So that'd be awesome. Like you said, it's been a while between drinks for the association, so they gave me an opportunity to come down here and further my career. So I'd love to win some silverware for them. On a personal note, I want to play Test cricket for New Zealand. So it's as simple as that, and I want to do that. So, but obviously to do that, you need to continue to play well at domestic cricket. So hopefully there's a wee championship or 2 in between that.
Well, Luke, it's been fantastic having you on the Hui. The cricket season's coming to the end here in New Zealand for the summer, but hopefully next summer we can see the Volts succeed, and hopefully we'll see you up here playing cricket when you next play Wellington.
Thank you very much for having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Luke. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.
So there's Luke Georgeson, who is our guest on the Hui tonight. He's doing pretty well down there in Otago. He's got to, get over that hamstring, no doubt. Still at his fine young age, he will no doubt got plenty more to succeed in his cricketing career. Now, coming up on Huddy Sports, we don't have any events on as yet this weekend, but on Tuesday afternoon next week, we're going to be bringing you the College Sport Wellington Touch Rugby Finals live on Huddy Sports YouTube. We're going to be bringing you the Premier Boys Touch Rugby Final from Fraser Park at 4:30 p.m. and then also the Premier Girls at Fraser Park from 5:30 p.m. So 4:30 p.m. for the boys and 5:30 for the girls. Now, next Wednesday on the Huddy Hui, we potentially have got a hurricane joining the Hui, and that will be our preview show before the club rugby season starts. We're not too far away, so that will be an unfurling episode next Wednesday. So make sure you tune into that, and also the Touch Rugby on Tuesday. And of course, Wellington Club Rugby not too far away. Our first game of club rugby for the Swindale Shield will be Batoni taking on Wellington on the first Saturday of April. So that'll be our first live stream of the Wellington Club Rugby season. So that's been the Huddy Hui for tonight. Many thanks to Luke Georgeson, I should say, coming on the Hui. And I am Brad Hudson. Ciao for now.
It's the Huddy Hui. You can find Huddy Sports on Instagram and Facebook. And check out huddysports.co.nz.
Here on Huddy Sports, we like to thank our sponsors that have always been grateful to our causes here on Huddy Sports. Our first sponsor, Mike Pinfold Plumbing and Drain Laying Limited. If you need any drain laying or plumbing assistance, give Mike Pinfold a call on 027 430 4351 or Pinfold Plumbing at extra.co.nz. Louise Reddy of New Zealand Travel Brokers. If you need any travel advice, she's local here in the Hutt Valley in Batoni. Call 021 135 3076. Louise Reddy, Louise.Reddy at nztravelbrokers.co.nz. And also to Gavin Murphy and the team at Jen Hickton Funeral Directors. They've been serving Wellington families of the funeral directoring services since 1946. So go to genhickton.co.nz. They're all local people here in the Hutt Valley and Wellington that service our greater community. We also like to thank Ben Belusnik Visual Designs that helps with the graphics here on Huddy Sports. As here on Huddy Sports, we're always wanting to keep our content free on YouTube. So the idea of sponsors, we can promote you on live stream, our social media pages and our website. It's good to support the local community and helps keep Huddy Sport free for all to watch. So if you're interested to helping Huddy Sports, go to huddysports.co.nz or to our email address, huddysportsnz@gmail.com. Ciao for now.